So in the last few lectures, we have learned that dynamics of spin nuclear spins, and we can say electron spins, right? Electron spins. So this dynamics of nuclear spins, which is governed by two factors, which are interactions within the spins. So this is a complex interaction between the spins and external magnetic field. So all of this governs the dynamics of nuclear spins, which actually drives the NMR experiment. So this we have tried to understood, and to understand or to predict this dynamics, we require to solve Schrodinger equation, right, for the spin systems. And why is this important to understand the dynamics of nuclear spins? The dynamics of nuclear spins, because it drives the NMR experiment. So if we want to design new NMR experiments, or to understand the previously done NMR experiments, we need to understand how the nuclear spins are moving in time. So what is an NMR experiment? It is nothing but a series of RF pulses and delays. So during various RF pulses and various delays, so I'm showing a pulse using this square rectangle over here, and then delay by just writing this delay. So in any NMR experiment can be defined by these kind of RF pulses and delays. So during these delays and RF pulses, the Hamiltonian changes. For example, here the Hamiltonian will be the RF Hamiltonian. Here the Hamiltonian will be the chemical shift and scalar coupling Hamiltonian, for example. Okay, so if Hamiltonian changes, that means the interactions are changing between the spins and with the magnetic field. And if the interactions are changing, that will change the dynamics of nuclear spins, and that will govern what will be the information content in that NMR experiment. So to understand all of this, we need to solve the Schrodinger equation for that spin system, right? So we have also learned that any given quantum state of spin can be described, or the state of a quantum state of a spin can be represented as psi t, which can be expressed as linear combination of or superposition of eigenstates, right? So n represents the eigens, ket n represents the eigenstates here. And so now if we want to understand how this spin system is moving in time, or how it is evolving in time because of various pulses or delays, because of various interactions with other spins, we need to understand the time evolution of psi. So time evolution is governed by time dependent Schrodinger equation, which is nothing but, so this we have already learned, so I'm just recapping the thing. So this is time evolution of psi. So again, I'm writing all of these equations in natural units, so that means I'm assuming h cross equal to 1. So I'm explicitly not writing h cross anytime. So ht psi t, right? So this is time evolution, right? Okay, so we have also understood, we have also learned that expectation value and the ensemble average of that, which is represented by a bar over here, so is given by trace, so expectation value of an operator is given by trace density matrix at any point in time into A. So this is a matrix over here. So if you take trace of that matrix, you get the expectation value for the ensemble average, right? Why is this important? Because if you want to measure any measurable, what you can do is you can just determine the density operator over here. If you know the density operator at a given point of time, you can multiply this with that operator matrix and get the trace and get the expectation value, right? So what is sigma t over here? Sigma t is nothing but density operator, which is given by psi t inner product psi t, right? And to show that it's an ensemble average, we'll write this thing over here. Or you can also say cn cm star that we have learned over an ensemble average, right? So this all of this we have seen. So now it is very interesting and it's also very simple to understand that if we want to know the expectation value at any given point in time, all we have to do is we have to find out the density matrix at that particular instant, right? So for example, here at any given point, if you know what is the density matrix, that means how density matrix is evolving under time is crucial to understand how NMR experiment or how spin states are evolving in time, right? So what we will try to learn today is time evolution of density matrix. So in matrix form you call it as density matrix, or in operator form you call it as density operator. Basically the meaning is same, right? So let's try to understand time evolution of density matrix. Okay, so that means what we are trying to find out is d sigma t by dt. Okay, this is our goal to understand. So now let us first before we actually do that, let us first try to find out the time evolution of a given matrix element. So this sigma t is a complete matrix. So what we'll try to do is we'll first try to look at how a given matrix element of sigma t will change in time. That is d sigma nm, or let's say let's give a different trace or different index to this, km by dt. So this can be written as d k sigma m t. So when I'm writing sigma, it is implicit that this is time dependent, so I will have t over here. Now this can be written as t by dt. So this will be ck cm star, where star indicates complex conjugate, right? And there is a ensemble average. Okay, let me rewrite this because lot of overwriting. ck cm star. Okay, now let's try to expand this. So this is a simple partial derivative problem. So what I can do is I can say ck d cm star by dt ensemble average plus cm star dck by dt, right? When both the functions are time dependent, because you know the coefficients are time dependent here, so I can expand it like this. So now the basically the problem of finding time evolution of density matrix element is reduced to find the time evolution of coefficients. So this is nothing but time evolution of coefficients. Right, so let us try to find out expression for these coefficients, time evolution of these coefficients, which can readily be obtained using time dependent Schrodinger equation. So let us see. So the time dependent Schrodinger equation, let's write down that again. dt is equal to minus I ht psi t, and we know that psi t is equal to summation n cn ket n, right? So let us substitute this value over here. So what do we get? So we will have summation n d by dt cnt. See here, time differential will act on cnt because states are stationary. So this will not be in dt. So I can say this. And then here on the right hand side, what I have is minus I summation n cnt. So similarly here, the Hamiltonian will act only on the eigenstates. Coefficients will come out, right? Okay, now how do I simplify this? So what we can do is we can take an integral with respect to any given state k. Okay, so let's write down taking an integral with respect to k, or you can say pre-multiplying bra k to that equation. What we'll get is sigma n d by dt cn t, and I will have bra k ket n, and on the right hand side minus I sigma n cnt k h n. So this is k h n. So this is nothing but the matrix element over here now, right? So to solve the left hand side here, the orthonormality condition states that for n equal to k, this integral, this is an integral, this integral will be equal to 1, and for all other values of n, because we are taking summation over n, so for all other values of n, this integral will go to 0, right? That's the orthonormality condition. So what I can write here is, so equating n equal to k in this summation, so this summation is gone. So d by dt of ck, so I will not write every time t, so let's just write ck, and that's all, right? Because this thing goes to 1, and on the right hand side I will still have the whole thing, summation n cn k h n. So this can be written as hkn also, right? Because in some books you will find it like this, hkn. Okay, so now I have an expression which I wanted, time evolution of coefficients. Let's also see how the time evolution of complex conjugate of this will look like, because we wanted expression for both. So ck star, this will be complex conjugate, so this will become positive, so positive I summation n cn star, again star because I have a star over here. And then if I take star on this, that's, if I take a complex conjugate of this, the elements will change, n h k, right? So now let's go back to this equation over here. this equation over here and let's try to put in the values. So I have d sigma k substituting dc by dt values in d sigma k m by dt equation. What do we get? Let's see. D sigma k m by dt is equal to, so I will have ck and then, so what was that? So I will have ck and then dcm star by dt. So for dcm star by dt I will replace k by m, so that means I will have plus I, because this is star over here, cn star, and I will replace k with m. This is just the index which is different here. Plus cm star dck by dt, right? So that will be minus I summation n cn k h n, right? So this is what it is. Okay, now let's try to further simplify this. What do we get here? So if you take this ck and cn star, and h m, and plus, now this will be minus ck cm star, this is, sorry, this will be cm star cn k h n, and all of this were having ensemble average, right? Okay, so what do we have here? So you can appreciate this fact that this is nothing but the density matrix element. So I will write I sigma n, this can be written as k sigma n, and this is n h m, right? Similarly here this can be written as minus I sigma n, this will be n bra n sigma ket m k h n. Now these are numbers, so these can be replaced with each other, right? And also the fact that bra n ket n bra n inner product along with sigma n becomes a unity operator. So I'm using this identity is equal to unity operator, right? So here, putting that here also I have the same thing. So what I get here is I, so I will not have sigma n now because that goes into unity, so I will be left with k sigma h m, right? And minus I, and over here I will have k h sigma m, right? So what I have done here is I have replaced the numbers. These two are just the matrix elements, so I can put them uh, in different order. So I will write, if I write khn followed by n sigma m, then n and n inner product along with sigma n becomes unity operator. So I'm left with this, right? Now this is nothing but k sigma h minus h sigma. Sorry, these are not brackets. M, right? So where we started with d sigma km by dt, right? So now we can say that if a matrix element is time evolution of a matrix element is given by this, so this is minus I h comma sigma. No. So let's not write like this, because this is still the matrix element. So now we can say that the time evolution of the density matrix will also be of the same form, but not just the matrix element, but the full matrix, right? Which will be given by the commutator n minus I, right? So this is a very important equation which basically tells how your sigma t, or that is how the density operator is changing in time, or is evolving in time when it is exposed to a different given Hamiltonian, right? This equation is called as Liouville von Neumann double N equation, right? And this will be used very often in understanding the time evolution of density operator. So let us now see the solution of this equation, okay? So solution of this equation depends on whether the Hamiltonian is time independent or it is time dependent. So case 1, let us consider first Hamiltonian is time independent. Okay, so if Hamiltonian is time independent, the solution of Liouville von Neumann equation is given by sigma t is equal to e to the power minus iht sigma 0 e to the power plus iht. So this is over here, this is density operator at time 0, and this is density operator, new density operator after time evolution, right, at time t. Okay. So how do we know that this solution is actually true? So this can be proven by taking simple differentiation with respect to time of this equation. So let us try to see if we differentiate this, can we go back there? So if we do that, d sigma t by dt can be written as d e minus iht by dt into sigma 0 e to the power plus iht plus minus iht sigma 0 so taking differentiation, at a given point, one at a time. Now this will be equal to minus IH E minus IHT sigma 0 E IHT plus E minus IHT sigma 0 IH will come out E IHT, right? This is simple. Now if you take I out, what I will have here is, I'll write this one first, E minus IHT sigma 0 H E IHT minus H E IHT sigma 0 IHT. Now you see this is nothing but this vector is nothing but the sigma t, right? So I can write I sigma t H minus H and then sigma t, and this can be written as, if I take negative out, minus I commutator of H and sigma t, right? So I get the Liouville von Neumann equation back if I simply take the derivative of this equation over here, right? So that means I can say that this is the solution of Liouville von Neumann equation when Hamiltonian is time independent, right? Okay, so let us now see how to further simplify this by using another mathematical technique or mathematical formula, which is called as Baker-Campbell Hausdorff formula, in short BCH formula. So BCH formula originally states if you have exponential of A into exponential of B is equal to exponential of C, where A and B are non-commuting operators. These are not simply numbers. Here we are talking about operators, and which are non-commuting operators. In that case, so for commuting operators, it will be simple as e to the power A plus B. So here, if you want to write for C, this can be written as A plus B plus half commutator B plus 1 by 12. This will be double commutator AB minus BAB, and then minus 1 by 24. Now this will be a triple commutator AB 1 2 3 and so on, right? So this is the original Baker-Campbell-Hausdorff formula, BCH formula, which is required if you want to solve an equation of this type. However, our equation is not of exponential A into exponential B. What we have here is of this type of equation, which we want to simplify, right? So let us now try to see, let us now actually construct a function. We will use this formula, but in a slightly different way. So let us consider a function in S, which is given by e to the power SA into an operator B into e to the power minus SA. So again, A and B are non-commuting operators. So maths is looking little overwhelming, but uh, this is a very useful formula, and it is important to see this derivation so that rest of the calculation becomes simple to understand. Let us now try to differentiate with respect to time. So differentiate not with respect to time. Let's just try to differentiate this. Take a partial derivative. So what do we get here? This will be f prime s, and if I take a differentiation here, this will be a e to the power sa b e minus sa plus this will be. So all I have done is I have taken a out here one time, and then next time I will take minus a out, right? So this will be ESA B minus A E minus SA, right? So what I can write this is, now here it is the fact which is used here is that A and exponential A necessarily commute. So this can be tested. So this, you can take any operator A and see if it commutes with exponential of that operator, right? So then what I'll do is I will write it inside. So that means I have e to the power sa ab e to the power minus sa, and negative over here e to the power sa ba e to the power minus sa, right? So what I have here is e to the power sa commutator of a and b, so ab minus ba and e to the power minus sa out, right? So this is the first derivative of that function. Okay, now let's try to see what will be the second derivative. Let us again differentiate it with respect to a, right? So what do we get? So if I do f double prime s, I will have e to the power sa. Now I'll skip a step. I'll write a. So a is coming out from here, and then I have a comma b, which is from previous relation, e to the power minus sa, and then minus e to the power minus, sorry, plus sa, and I will have a b and a over here e to the power minus sa, right? So this can now be written as e to the power sa double commutator between a and b, which is a ab e to the power minus sa, right? Similarly, now I will just extend this expression to third derivative. f3s will be given by triple commutator. So you can do this yourself and see if you're getting this or not. Work it out yourself. Okay, take it as a home assignment and try to see if you differentiate this further from here to here, do you get the same expression, this expression or not? Okay, so now okay, so now we have got this, but how do we simplify it? So now let us expand f of s, the original function, using Taylor series. what do we get here? So f of s can be written as f of 0 plus s times f prime 0 plus f prime is the first derivative, s square by 2 factorial f double prime 0 plus s cube by 3 factorial f triple prime 0 and so on. So if I now substitute the values of f0, f prime 0 that we have calculated, where we'll put s equal to 0, s is over here. So what do we get here? So let us see what do we get if we put s equal to 0 in the original function. So original function that we assumed was this over here. So if we put s equal to 0, all I left with is b, because this will go to 1 and this will also go to 1, right? So here I will be left with b plus f prime 0 will be, so f prime s was this. So if I put 0 again for s, these will be 1 and I will left with commutator of a and b, right? So that means s times a comma b. Similarly, this will be s square by 2 factorial double commutator ab, s cube by 3 factorial triple commutator between a and b. And so on, right? So this is fs. Now if I substitute, now using s is equal to, let's say, it minus it, b or a is equal to Hamiltonian and b is equal to sigma naught. Then what do I have? I have sigma t in the left hand side. Basically the solution to the Liouville-von Neumann equation, which now becomes sigma 0, that is the density matrix at initial time, minus, so all I'm doing is I'm just substituting these values over here, okay? So minus it by 1 factorial, you can say, and this is the Hamiltonian, a is Hamiltonian, this is sigma naught and the commutator, right? Then plus, so negative square becomes plus, so it square by 2 factorial, and I have double commutator between h and sigma 0. Similarly, now I'll have minus sign power 3, so I'll have negative out, it cube by 3 factorial, and I will have triple commutator h sigma 0 plus so on, right? So this is a very so again, it looks mathematically, it looks very overwhelming and it looks a long calculation, tedious calculation, but actually it is not. When you will see that in later classes, when we will use this formula for solving density matrix at different time points, given the Hamiltonian and the initial density matrix, this becomes very simple and straightforward, and we'll take up examples and we'll see. In the next class we will take up case 2, where Hamiltonian is time dependent. We'll see the solution of the Liouville-von Neumann equation, how the solution is when Hamiltonian becomes time dependent. That is all for today. Thank you.